why are we doing this? Like I always say, patterns are power. And so if you can see the pattern, if you can understand the pattern of the wheel of the year, you can start to understand more deeply your own pattern.
Welcome to the Feminine Alchemy Podcast, where we explore the truth about the feminine, the peaceful, the wild, and the visceral. I'm your host, Jaye Anne, joined by my co-hosts, Julie Dean Richards and Kayelee Rose. Each week, we explore the deep mysteries of the feminine and help listeners apply them to their daily lives in a practical way. Join us to unlock the hidden wisdoms your soul has been waiting for.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Feminine Alchemy. I am Julie Dean Richards, and today I am giving you a solo episode about midsummer, or what's called Lammas, or Lunasa, and the Wheel of the Year. So I'm so excited to do this episode for all of you. This is one of my favorite holidays. But first, I have a big announcement from Feminine Alchemy as a podcast. I'm sorry that Kayelee and Jaye Anne aren't here to announce with me, but we're doing something kind of exciting for us and hopefully for you too. Because Kayelee is having her baby so soon, she's due at the very end of August, we are prepping for her maternity leave. And because we're prepping for her maternity leave, what we're going to be doing is this will be our last live for this season, and then we will start up again at the very beginning of September. So that first week in September, that first Monday, we will start again, and we're going to use August as a time for us to record episodes and to prepare for Kaylee's maternity leave and to give her the rest that she needs. And of course, we believe it's really important to take rest and to have feminine cycles, but we did not want to leave all of you hanging while we are taking a break in August. So we will just be gone from the beginning of August until that first week of September, and then we will be back live. But in the meantime, we will actually be playing some awesome interviews for you. We'll be doing kind of a best of series and replaying some of our favorite episodes and some that a lot of people haven't gotten to hear. So we will be dropping those. So the podcast will keep going, but we won't be having any fresh or episodes with the three of us until September. So we're really excited about it, and we can't wait to be with all of you again and to chat. And we're so excited to record some really amazing things so that we had some awesome stuff for you while Kayelee is on maternity leave, and you'll still get to hear her beautiful voice with all of us. With all of that said, we're excited to start this episode. So for those who've been longtime listeners, you probably already know what the Wheel of the Year is, how it works. But for people who don't know, I thought this would be a good time to do a tiny recap on why the heck do we do these episodes? What is the Wheel of the Year? And why do we even talk about these things? They seem so foreign. So the Wheel of the Year is literally the concept that the year is like a wheel and it keeps turning. And we all see that, right? It always goes from spring to summer to fall to winter, from springs to summer to fall to winter. And the idea of celebrating the Wheel of the Year is actually a concept that has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And we see this in actually all kinds of religions. We can see this in Asia. We can see this in Australia. We can see this even in Christian traditions in the holidays that we honor originally, and in their older forms, those holidays honored this Wheel of the Year. For example, even in the Jewish temple, when we had the tabernacle during the equinoxes, I shouldn't say we, but the people who were working on the tabernacle, the priests, would actually make it so that the tabernacle was facing the exact right way so that the light would pour in and light up the Holy of Holies. So this is actually not foreign to any kind of faith tradition or part of the world or culture. We focus on a feminine view of the Wheel of the Year, which comes from more Celtic traditions, but it actually aligns with even Native Americans and the way that they they do the Wheel of the Year, and South America. Every culture has their own spin. And of course, in places like Australia or down in Brazil, where the seasons are reversed, they kind of do it in reverse order. But it's all the same kind of a thing, celebrating the sun and the moon and their interplay and the wheel. And so why is this important? Why are we doing this? Why do we talk about the wheel so much? And this is because we as feminine beings are cyclical, just like the Wheel of the Year is cyclical. Celebrating the Wheel of the Year allows us and helps us to continue to be cyclical beings and to work with our ebbs and our flows. We're really used to living in a culture that's always go, go, go. Let's climb up the mountain, continuously climbing. We're going up the staircase. But honoring the Wheel of the Year is one small step of a way that we can honor our inner cycles and honor our outer cycles and start to live more cyclically and live in a way that's more in alignment with the feminine. So taking breaks when we need to take breaks, knowing that there's always going to be a season, there's always going to be a fall and a winter where like all our leaves fall off and we have to go underground because it's snowy and we need to rest and we need to bundle up. And like honoring that allows us to be like, okay, in my work, I can also honor that. I can take a break if I need to take a break. I can be in a different season and allowing ourselves to more fully embrace the present and embrace the season that we're in, which is really feminine concept. We live in bodies. The feminine is deeply about embodiment and working with your body and honoring your body's needs. And your body always lives on a cycle. If you are a woman, your body has an internal cycle. Whether or not you are currently cycling or bleeding, you still have cycles even after you are all done bleeding. And so as above, so below, or as without, so within. It's this idea of actually noticing the seasons and noticing the cycles helps us to notice our internal cycles and to work in a more rhythmic way. And if we're aligned more rhythmically with our outer world, it helps us to be aligned more internally rhythmically. And like I always say, patterns are power. And so if you can see the pattern, if you can understand the pattern of the Wheel of the Year, how everything turns and honor the seasons, you can start to understand more deeply your own pattern. So that was just a little breakdown. Why do we do these Wheel of the Year episodes? Aren't they kind of like out of the box? They're kind of different than other holidays. We haven't experienced them. Yes, we're doing them because it's very feminine and we're bringing it back and trying to get more into our cyclical nature. So most of these holidays align with the equinoxes and the solstices. And then we have holidays that are halfway in between the equinoxes and the solstices, and those are called cross-quarter holidays. And the holiday I'm going to talk about today, the point that we're at, is called midsummer. Well, most traditions call it Lammas. They also call it Lunasa, but when they call it Lunasa, it looks like Lushmargnach because that's the way it's spelled, but it's pronounced Lunasa. And so I say midsummer just because we are celebrating, and some people will get mad at me because they're like, midsummer is actually part of the summer solstice or whatever. But technically, this holiday is the actual middle of summer. So I don't think it's wrong to call it midsummer. So it's actually halfway between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. So that's why it's called a cross-quarter holiday. That's why I referred to it as like the middle of summer. And so that's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating the middle of the harvest. And actually, this is the first of 3 harvest festivals. So we had some fire festivals when we started with Imbolc all the way back in February. We started to have bonfire festivals and midsummer, or Lammas, I'll call it Lammas because that's the easiest. Lammas or Lunasa, the middle of summer, is kind of the fading of that. It's like the last of that as we're fading into the 3 harvest festivals. So we're starting to see our harvest, and this holiday will be followed by the fall equinox, which is often called Mabon, and then Samhain, which people refer to as like Halloween most often, same, or Dia de los Muertos, like that's the time. And those are the 3 harvest festivals. So the difference with this one is that now we're going to really be seeing some of the fruits. And a lot of this, you'll see that this holiday is really focused on gratitude. The next 3 holidays are focusing a lot more on gratitude. And I actually love these 3 holidays in the Wheel of the Year because they're so focused on this gratitude aspect. But because this is the middle of summer, it has a lot of crossover between the summer solstice and Mabon, which is the one that will come. So let's start from the beginning. Where does this come from? At least, where does Lammas or Lunasa comes from? So actually, Lammas in the Anglo-Saxon version and the Celtic version, it actually means loaf mas, literally loaf mas. We're talking about bread. Yes, it's a bread holiday, of course, because we're talking about harvest festivals and grain festivals. The other name for it, when we talk about Lunasa, that's the Gaelic name, and that was celebrated in honor of their god Lu, who's a Celtic god of light, craftsmanship, like oaths, kingships, and skills. He's all about skills. And it's interesting because in these traditions, even in more earth-based traditions, and sometimes people call them pagan traditions, but in more earth-based traditions, they also honor this, have these festivals. Part of the honoring of them is to honor that, like the sun god, that after the harvest in that Samhain time, that he dies so everybody can live, and sacrifices himself. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But when we talk about the Celtic origins of this, Lu had held like a funeral feast and athletic games in honor of his mother. Her name is Talitu, who died clearing the land for agriculture. So this is all about like agriculture, gratitude, honoring that. More of the Christianized version is more that llama, the bread and the bread of life, and focusing on the grain festivals and that these grains are coming. So some of the themes of this holiday, of course, is like the first harvest, which is this, like literally in many ways. I mean, we've been getting fruits and vegetables and things already. We've already had strawberry season, but in many ways, the first real harvest of grains. And so Lammas marks that first abundance that we get of grains. And so that first harvest is like the gratitude for this initial abundance and this season. And then there's also kind of this theme of sacrifice and transformation, which is like we're cutting the grain, which is symbolic of like death. We thank these plants and the fruits and the vegetables and the animals for giving their life so that we can live. And so like with every harvest, right, that's the end of the plant's life, but it's going to give life and nourishment to everybody else. And so there's kind of gratitude for that sacrifice and the transformation from seed all the way to full grown bloom, and then that death. So like celebrating, with the wheel of the year, we always are celebrating like the life transition from birth to maturity to death, and like so on and so on, just like the wheel of the year. And then, of course, gratitude and preparation. We're giving thanks for what's been grown, but we're preparing for the darker half of the year. At this point, right, the sun is getting less and less in the sky, even though it doesn't feel like it. These are the hottest months of the year. We're actually getting ready to go into fall. And so we're preparing by, and giving thanks as we gather. And then, like I said before, there's also this theme to this holiday of sovereignty and service, which is the king or the sun god sacrifice himself for the land and the people's well-being, which is part of a lot of these cultures, especially earth-based cultures. But you can find these kind of practices all over, this idea that there is a king or a deity that sacrifices himself so everyone can have plenty. And that really shows up a lot more in Samhain, and we'll talk about it again when we get to Samhain, but we start to see that here. And then there is this like fun part of Lammas and like some of its themes, which is like the skill and craftsmanship. And this actually comes more from the Lunasa side of things, from the Gaelic side of things, which is like you're honoring your talents, your trade, you're honoring your hard work, like you did so much, now you're harvesting, and like we're really honoring your labor, like this labor that's brought us this abundance. And so a lot of this holiday revolves around like, let's have games, like let's see your talents, let's see your skills. So that's really fun. And then we're not quite there yet, but we're slowly starting to think about shadow work again, because as the sun gets less and less, it's going to be more of that releasing time and that shadow work time, but we're not really quite there yet. So let's talk about a little bit more about some of the like foods you might eat. Jaye Anne's always like, what are the snacks? Tell me the snacks. So let's talk a little bit more about the snacks and some of the other correspondences, like colors, because every holiday has its own colors and its own set of traditions. So let's dive a little bit more into that. Of course, because Lammas means loaf mas, we're talking about breads. It's all about the bread, braided breads, homemade breads, corn breads. We're also using our wheat to make pies, especially we're talking about fruit pies, seasonal fruit pies, berry pies. Those are really going to be big players in what we eat during midsummer. And also cider is getting bigger during this time. If you're someone who drinks alcohol, that would be like ale and mead are also really big. And then we're thinking a lot about other grains as well that are becoming harvested, like quinoa, oats, barley, millet, and of course wheat. And then we're also going to be thinking about using those fresh herbs that we have. There's lots of herbs that are around and baking them into our breads because this is peak time for that. We're still eating lighter things because it's the summer. So we're eating more of those fruits and those berries and those vegetables that are ripe right now and having more of that like caprese salad, right? We're into the caprese salad season. We're into that like beautiful berry salad season with some bread and like maybe a light soup or a gazpacho. And you can make lots of different kinds of beautiful breads for this season, but lots of that, we're eating lots of things that are light and tender, less of the headier things that we're going to eat in the fall and the winter. So probably less meat during this time, probably more focus on fruits and veggies during this time, and then enjoying anything that you've harvested, right? So salsas are actually great for this one. And another drink that I love for this is mint lemonade. Yes, mint lemonade, mint limeade, because mint is huge during Lammas. Mint is really lucky, and this is like a lucky time of year. So mint lemonades are delicious. You could do, or mint limeades, if you wanted a fun drink to make. We're harvesting that butterfly pea flower, which like if you haven't experienced that before, it's a flower that turns your drink purple. It's really beautiful. Like this blue and this, if you add like lemon to it, it'll turn purple. It's a cool science experiment for your kids, but watch it turn from blue to purple when you add that acid. You can often find it in teas or kombuchas, but you could also get butterfly pea flower and you can make it part of your lavender and mint lemonades and like watch the color change and have these yummy purple drinks, which is super fun for this time of year, enjoying that outside. So we're still in this wonderful time where we have so much to eat and enjoy, but we're going to complement it, with our grains, with everything that we've harvested and use that for our foods. So there are some ideas for that. And then I think I'll try to tell you guys at the end more recipes. So then we've got the colors. So the colors for llamas are going to be what we see around us. So big golds, ambers, oranges, deep green, beautiful like russet colors. And then of course, sunflower yellow. Sunflowers are a big part of this as well. Mint and sunflower, really big around this time. Of course, you see those colors being used all the time. Those are summer colors. And we're really starting to get closer to using our fall colors, but we still have some of those lighter pops. It's a lighter orange. It's a lighter yellow. It's like playing on that. And then as we go through the rest of the wheel of the year, as we get into fall and autumn, it'll be much more darker, deeper versions of these colors. But we're really honoring like now the sun's out, the sun's still out and we're in the middle of this and it's beautiful. And we're having these beautiful sunflower yellows and oranges and golds and really allowing that to come through. And speaking of that, the plants and herbs that correspond with this holiday that people use, and you can put these in your sacred space or just like around if you want to decorate with them. These are great, but of course sunflowers are going to be big, decorating with sunflowers. Chamomile and goldenrod are really blooming during this time. Love chamomile, love the color of it too for this. And then basil, mint, blackberry, and then of course wheat, oat, and corn is big time. It's all being harvested, and this is like a beautiful time to use it. And like I said, that mint is that freshness. Mint is also really good as a great herb for staving off infections and helping you get better and like dealing with sinus infections. It can also help you if you're feeling congested. Like I've been really congested. If you get allergies and things like that, mint can be really helpful for it. Basil lots of people call basil the king of herbs, but I love basil. This is why I said your caprese salad, perfect with that basil in it and the tomatoes that are being harvested during this time. But basil is a lovely, lovely plant to help with a number of things, but it really is good for your vitality and like picking up mood. I mean, you just have to smell basil to feel better, but picking up mood and bringing that happiness. And then, of course, blackberries are really abundant. Where I used to live in Kentucky, they're famous for their blackberries. So many beautiful blackberries and other berries blooming during this time. These are great plants, and you could even use them to decorate with if you wanted to. There's also, if you want like crystals and things to put around to amplify the vibe of llamas, you can use things like citrine, which is really about abundance. Citrine is great for bringing in anything. We've talked about it before, but bringing your luck, bringing you abundance and money and things that you need, and helping your intentions come to light. It's a great stone for bringing that beautiful upward and like making your life feel full. And then sunstone, which is lovely for vitality and like honoring and remembering the sun. And then, of course, tiger's eye is all about harvest. Tiger's eye is protection and confidence, but it's great for this one because of its tie to the harvest. That's why we use tiger's eye for this. And then there's carnelian, which is all about creativity. That's that orange stone. Carnelian's really orange. It's beautiful. Sometimes it can look similar to citrine. Citrine's a lot more yellow and a lot more crystally. I find carnelian to be more stone-like, a lot more orange, but it is really great for that creativity, vitality, which is really great for this time of year. Like we're really amping up our creativity during this time. We're showing our skills. And then you've got amber, which is perfect for that amplification of solar energy. And also honoring what has come before us to bring this to us. So those are some great crystals to use during this time. Now I'm going to talk about things you can actually do. What can you actually do on Lammas? What is good for us to do during this time? I will definitely tell you, which is always the fun part of these, is what do we do during them? What can be so fun that we can do together? How do we celebrate this like a real holiday? And I'm going to say, obviously, it's up to you. This is a perfect summer holiday. You can build up to it as you get ready for midsummer, and there's tons and tons of things to do. But most good holidays, including this one, includes lots of yummy food. And so making a delicious feast is always going to be part of it. And so the first tradition I'm going to talk about is baking bread. Of course, we have to bake bread from scratch. This is a great time to do that. And you can share it with your loved ones. You can bake all kinds of breads. You could try putting delicious herbs in them if you wanted to. You can make braided breads, and you can also use these, bless your bread. And we talk about that a lot, about making things sacred and special. And that's something that I do, is I talk to my food. Most people know this about me, but it really does make a difference when you put blessings and love into the food that you make, and you can bless your bread and make it a blessing for other people. You can also, like, one of the oldest traditions, which kind of is along this vein, is offering the first fruits of your harvest. So you can take harvest from your garden or from your farmer's market, and you could offer it to the earth, like the first fruits, or you could offer it to friends or give it away to somebody. You could also just give thanks and eat it in a special sacred place and do it in a sacred way. But this is a beautiful way to honor and like give back to the earth, or give back to people who mean a lot to you, and to say like, hey, thank you. I'm offering the first of this to you because you're special to me. You could even do it with a deity, or like with what you see as your version of God. You could bless it and eat it in their name and offer it like an offering to them, and to say thank you for all that you've given me. Thank you, universe, whatever it is that works for you. Another thing that you can do, and we'll talk about these more, but because the corn is out and we have corn husks, you can make corn dollies, which are like just literally dolls made out of corn husks. And you can actually keep these. This is kind of like a cool idea, but you could keep these until Imbolc, which is in February, like halfway through. So like this is August, and then we'll celebrate Imbolc exactly 6 months later in February. And you could then burn at Imbolc, you could burn or bury your corn dolly. Like you could use it throughout that time as kind of like a marker and have your corn dolly. And then just like, because in bulk is all about cleansing, be like, okay, this is what I brought to fruition in that time, or this is what I'm giving up in that time, and keep it until in bulk, and then burn it, get rid of it, or keep it and decorate it during that time. You can always have a bonfire. Right now is the time. Their fire is a great way to like honor the fact that the sun is now waning, and to like gather friends around. And it's always fun if you have a drum or you want to dance and sing around the fire. That's always a great time. Roasting marshmallows, of course. And you could even do like something fun with your bread, and marshmallows are delicious things that you roast over the fire, or like eating a roasted meal could be really lovely. And you can reflect on like what's ripening in your life right now. Like what has your first harvest been like? What have you harvested thus far? Another thing that you could do is you could also, like, because this is all about gratitude, and they'll continue to be about gratitude, but because this is about gratitude, you could write down all the ways that you've grown since spring. You could list, like I said, the things you're harvesting, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like, what have you harvested? Like, reflecting on your life. Really, I think that quote is true, that the unexamined life is not worth living. And taking this time to examine your life can really help you to see how much you've grown, and to actually just be more grateful. Like, wow, look at what has happened. Look at how far I've come since that time. Or even help you reflect on, okay, what do I want to change so I can get a different kind of harvest? Like, I want to harvest something else. And you can write down on that list, and you can burn it, you can bury it. I often say, like, if you want something to grow, bury it. If you want something to be released, burn it. Or you can bury the ashes also if you want to, but that's a great little tradition or ritual, is just to write down all the things you're thankful for and how you've grown. And then this tradition is so fun for kids because it's summer. It's really all about playing. Like, it's time to play. It's time to play games. And actually, because of the origins of this, and it's about skills and bringing things to fruition and honoring your talents, it's a great time to play games with your kids, to play games just yourself, to hold a little friendly competition. This is more in the masculine, and this is more of like a masculine thing you can do, but it's summertime, so it's the time to be masculine, right? Like, it's the time to go out and play and show off, and also be creative, which is very feminine. So this is a great time to host friendly competitions. And with kids, you could have them do a little talent show, which would be so fun. And you could also try new things, like try learning a new craft, or cooking, or archery, or writing, or music, or like try something. And also just to appreciate the things that you are skilled at. So those are some things that you can do. Of course, you can bring people together, have that bonfire together, eat a yummy meal together, dance, sing, have a little talent show, a little friendly competition. You could do, races, kind of like what a lot of people do for the 4th of July. They have like races and relays and fun things like that. So this is a really fun time to play and to add, wonderful, fun things to your Lunasa or Lammas and to your life, and just to remember like that gratitude part. So we're playing hard, and we're being grateful during this season, and we're prepping ourselves for the fall. We're preparing. And this is just like a little Lammas blessing that I found, which was really beautiful. But it says, golden sun and amber grain, we bless the field through joy and pain. What once was seed is now full bloom. The wheel turns on. We make more room. We give our thanks and share our bread. We honor what's alive and dead. I think it's really beautiful to see, like, this is our blooming time. So it's a great time for you to bloom and to bring to light your talents, to get creative, to have your time in the sun, to go and to travel. But this is a good time to just like honor that we're in this part, and to, honor this time. Like, we're lucky. Our ancestors felt so lucky to get to this first harvest. They felt so lucky, that they made it another turn around the wheel to the times when it was easier, when the sun was out, and they could have these things. And we should also allow ourselves to feel alive and lucky. I know sometimes people can get the summer blues, or can be so hard with allergies, and hopefully that gratitude piece can be such a great remedy for those things. It can help us to snap out of our blues, and to help us, some of these herbs can be really helpful if we are having a hard time with that summer blues or with allergies and things like that and having a hard time. I know my summer has been tough. I've had a tough summer, but I'm really looking forward to celebrating Lammas and to celebrate my wins and wonderful things. And so if you're looking for things to do with your kids as well, I just wanted to, you can do any of these. You can bake bread together, like we talked about. You can make that corn dolly we talked about. And then one thing we didn't talk about really quick I wanted to throw in is you could create a sun mandala. So like you could use flowers, berries, leaves, sticks, or herbs, and you can make it, or you can make it out of like those, fruits and vegetables, like a platter for your Lammas party if you wanted to have one, but you can make like a sun-shaped mandala and on the ground or on a large board and make it really pretty. Just people don't know what a mandala is, just look it up, but you can also just make it shaped like the sun, and that's really fun. And like we talked about, those really fun outdoor games that you can play. You could also do something like painting or like coloring the harvest, talking about that, helping your kids feel really grateful. And of course, campfire is perfect for kids. So I just wanted to give those ideas because I know lots of people listening have kids. Not everybody, but I know lots of people listening have kids, and it can be like, what do I do with my kids? And of course, you can always, for yourself, you can always journal and ask those questions we talked about before, like what are you harvesting in your life? What's beginning to bear fruit that you planted in the spring? What are you ready to sacrifice for the greater good of yourself, preparing for that shadow work season? And like, how can you honor the gifts and talents you've developed this year? And what abundance may you have overlooked or taken for granted? Those are great questions to journal on during this time of Lammas, which I love. And I guess I didn't say this at the beginning, and if I didn't, I'm sorry. You can look it up, but Lammas usually is August 1st or 2nd. Technically, it's usually a little later than that if you want to go by exactly between the summer equinox or summer solstice and the spring equinox. It would be a little bit later. I think it's at 15 degrees of Leo is when Lammas technically takes place, if you were interested on doing it on that day. But usually people celebrate at the very beginning of August, the 1st or the 2nd, like the other cross-quarter holidays. And it's just such a fun time to bring people together, and to enjoy each other. And if you're looking for sweet desserts that I didn't mention, again, those pies, blackberry crumble pie, honey cakes, sun cookies. Ooh, you can make really fun sun-shaped cookies and add lavender or chamomile to make them like florally. You could do cornbread with maple butter, even though maybe that sounds a little too fallish for you. It's just an idea. You could also, if you're looking for sorry, I told you I would tell you more food things. I'm just full of the food things. But if you are looking for like savory stuff, you could definitely do stuffed zucchini or bell peppers. You could do like a grain bowl or like a Buddha bowl. That would be perfect for this season with roasted veggies. Or you could, of course, charcuterie is always in. So you could definitely do the charcuterie, which would be so fun. So that's what I have for you guys on Midsummer and Lammas. And I hope you all party and take some time to celebrate yourself, celebrate the life that you are living, and no matter where you're at. And if you're having a hard time, just know I definitely feel you. This summer has been full of ups and downs. I have had some really high highs, some really low lows, and it's been more of an intense and difficult summer for me than I expected this year. We have been traveling a ton. I'm actually recording this at Mount Rushmore, talking to you from Mount Rushmore. Right now, we have gone all over the United States, and it's been interesting to see how I feel in different places and the different intensities that brings, and just the different feelings. So just know if you are having a hard time, you're not alone. But I hope you'll give yourself permission to have fun for a day and to enjoy the wonderful middle of summer. And Jaye Anne always is like, what do you want to leave everybody with? So I think what I would like to leave everyone with is you are more talented than you think. I like this reminds me of the Winnie the Pooh quote, right? Like you're smarter than you think, you're braver than you believe. I don't remember the last one, but just know that you are full of wonderful talents and there's so much in your life that is good. And I just wanted to say again for my gratitude and all of us from the podcast as we take our tiny break just for August. Again, we'll be sending you lots of episodes still, but less one-on-ones. And we'll be giving you some greatest hits while we're gone. And we'll be back in the fall. We'll be back in September. But I just wanted to thank you all again so much from the bottom of my heart. And I know when I listen to these things, like from creators or something, I'm like, they don't really care. But we really care. We really are so grateful for all of you, everyone who listens, every comment we get. We are just floored. We love it. We love doing this for you. We have so much joy, and we're just so excited to bring this to you and to see how it's changed our lives and your lives and to have such a beautiful opportunity for growth. So I hope you'll enjoy the rest of your summer and listen to our greatest hits, get revved up again, and we will see you in September, my friends. We love you so much. Okay, bye. Have a fun Lammas party. See you. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Please make sure to give us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening and share with someone you know. See you next week.